Now it's time for Glow with Marquette Shepherd, a show where talk enlightens and inspires you to glow through life instead of going through the life just to get by. Hosted by Emmy award-winning TV host and best-selling author Marquette Shepherd. Listen now for insightful conversations featuring celebrities and thought leaders. Call in to share your story live on air. Are you ready for a glow up? Your journey towards enlightenment starts right now.
That's right. Welcome to a brand new episode of Glow with Marquette Shepherd. I want to start out today's show with a quote from who other than Winnie the Pooh. We all love him, right? You're braver than you believe. You're stronger than you seem. You are smarter than you think. And that leads me into introducing you to this power-themed episode with Dr. Linda Gorham joining us, along with members of the Glowstream TV family, Cheryl Grant and Brandon Richardson. Welcome to the Glow Show, guys.
Happy Monday.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Well, the Glowstream TV family, they're going to be asking Dr. Gorham some questions. You are welcome to call in or comment on Facebook if you have a question. I want to give you a little bit of background on our dynamic guest. Today's episode is the power episode, and we are talking to champion power lifter, Dr. Linda Gorham, In addition to being a busy psychologist in Baltimore, Maryland, she's the mother of 3, a grandmother of 5, and a wife to Mr. James Gorham. Dr. Gorham recently won a weightlifting title in Tokyo by invitation only to compete. And she competes alone and with her adult son to stay in shape and to stay lifted, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. Now, listen to this episode as we're going to listen to a doctor and a champion power lifter speak words of advice to us glow getters on how we can stand in our own power and conquer each challenge that comes our way.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Such an honor and opportunity. Thank you.
Well, I look at you as a real life Wonder Woman, someone who can do it all, because so many people are making choices. Do they focus their attention on being a mother or a professional? How do you find time to work out? How do you find time for your marriage? And you have seemed to conquer it all, and then do something for yourself, which is powerlifting. And for those listening who don't know, tell me, first of all, what is powerlifting?
So powerlifting is a strength sport. It is not weightlifting in the sense that you see in the Olympics, but powerlifting is a strength sport, and it involves lifting as much weight as you can doing 3 lifts. The first we typically do is a squat. Many are familiar with that, where we hold the weight on our back. I am a low bar squatter, so that means I put the bar maybe around my delts. I don't hold it very high up on my neck. That gives me just the alignment I need. So we squat, and also we bench, and that's what I did in Tokyo. I was invited to the International Bench Press Championships there in 2019. And then also we do a deadlift, which is my strongest lift, and that is simply squatting in a squat position, but picking the weight up off the floor. And that's my strongest lift. I've squatted in a competition at like 308 pounds. So I'm just working on getting those lifts higher, increasing my capacity to do those lifts and do them with the correct form, which is essential to avoid injury, and also to do them to stay in my place. And basically I'm competing with my last competition. So even though there are many participants in these competitions, my focus is not so much on chasing the highest lifter. It is really on setting personal records each time I lift. So I always want to do a little better.
So you want to best your best. And I love that, because that's a mental game as much as it is a physical game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a wonderful coach. I'll give a shout out to Nico Hulslander, who is a legend in the sport, but also he is my personal coach, and he has a way of always saying, Get your mind right. Get your mind right. So, especially when he knows it's going to get heavy, it is really about facing the weight. This is no time to be unfocused when you have that much weight on your back or over your chest. It is a time to be very focused and not focus on the platform or the crowd in front of you. Even in my workouts, it is always a focus on doing the same thing each time so that I'm not varying. Once I get the form, it is don't vary it, but just kind of keep my focus on those cues that I use to make sure I'm doing it right and doing it safely.
Absolutely. You talk about lifting 308 pounds and you look like a small woman, someone who doesn't go around lifting 308 pounds. When did you get involved in this sport and when did you start competing?
I got involved in January of 2016. I actually so I was in my mid 60s when I started.
And already a grandmother.
And of course, yes, my children are adults. I've been married 48 years this year. So when I got involved in 2016, so that was what, 6 years ago?
Wow.
5 years ago. So in 5 years, I have seen strength gains that I really didn't even imagine for myself. So I got involved because in 2015, the nonprofit organization that I lead called Dayspring, we do education programs in Park Heights. We were doing a fundraiser. We were doing a walk-run fundraiser alongside we embedded our fundraiser in the Baltimore Marathon. So I knew that we were doing this fundraiser and my goal was to walk the 5K. And as the leader of the organization, I'm like, I am not ready to do this, to walk this 5K in an hour. It was just, if you know about the marathon, they give the walkers like an hour for the 5K. And if you don't finish, you're off. They move you to the side.
Oh,
and
no.
So I was like, oh, no, that wouldn't look good. I need to start working on myself. So I just started walking more in 2015. And then after the marathon, again, the 5K for me, I decided to continue to keep the gains that I had made just with conditioning. And in that process, I did start going to a gym, which I hadn't before. I got involved with a trainer, and he's the one who noticed that I seemed to do really well with weights. I was focused. It seemed to be fun, more fun than the cardio. And genetically, he thought, you got a lot going on here. You need to look into powerlifting. And with that suggestion, I entered my first competition in April of 2016, and that was an amazing event.
Wow. Okay, wait a minute. So prior to going to the gym, had you ever been a member of a gym? Had you ever did any type of weightlifting in your life for exercise before that?
When I was younger, maybe 13 or so, I was in summer camp. And I was introduced to weights by a couple of my campers, and I enjoyed it then. And when I was in elementary school, I think I won a push-up contest for Baltimore City. I did the most push-ups. That was during JFK, John Kennedy. He was doing a kind of fitness thing nationwide for schools. And so schools were really promoting fitness when I was in the 50s.
Okay. That's amazing. I wanted to give some context because as women, so many of us are not ushered into weightlifting. They think, oh, I don't want to be buff, but it's the best thing for your body. It's the best thing for your bones. And I know this as a former health reporter. And from what you're saying, it's also really good for your mental fitness.
It is. Absolutely. And the other reason, after I found, it didn't take me long to realize that just by starting, and I started January 2016. Again, my first competition was 4 months later. It didn't take me long to realize that it wasn't really about the competition or even the amount of weight. It was the amount of stamina that I had in my everyday life. It was about my ability to function, where I could bring in 6 bags of groceries and not call my husband, where I could move about, and even in my work as a pastor, to visit, just the stamina for the long days, for interacting with people in really rough spaces. Of course, it takes spiritual, emotional, and mental stamina, but the physical piece was that piece that just added that that I needed each day to know that, okay, I can function, I can move about spaces, I can walk if I need to travel and walk through airports. If anybody knows about that, sure, I know what it's like to be able to do that. And I do want to say as well that when my daughter was born and I was 21 when she was born. She was my first child in 1974. 4 weeks after she was born, she was delivered by a midwife. And so 4 weeks later, I was asked to come to Hopkins, where she was delivered, to speak to other women who were going to use midwives. And as I was going to that meeting with her, my heart started beating irregularly. And I was driving, and just a lot of things started happening in that moment. And so instead of going to the meeting, I checked myself in the emergency room, tried to keep her with me until my husband arrived, found out then that I had a heart condition at 21. And that heart condition kept me in the emergency room for 40 years. I want to say for 40 years, working. There was a lot going on. When I started powerlifting, I've not been in the emergency room to deal with that since. So it is, even though it may seem like a lot of stress on the body to lift weight, it actually strengthened my heart. It strengthened me in a lot of ways, physically, but of course we're talking about mentally as well.
Yes. Wow. I mean, Dr. Linda, I don't think I have known you before, and I've talked to you before, but I didn't realize that you had a heart condition at such a young age. And I mean, just conventional thinking would say, oh my gosh, you have a heart condition, rest, don't lift that, don't push your body. But you're saying, no, it's quite the opposite. Push your body to be strong enough to overcome any type of irregularities
on
in the inside.
With your doctors, of course I checked with my cardiologist, and with women, it is about, our bodies are different from men. So I check with my gynecologist. But at the same time, even when medical professionals, they don't really understand all the time, not unless you're going to a sports professional. A medical professional may say, that's a little too much. You may not want to do that. But even with that, there's a personal decision to be made after you weigh all those factors. And there are times when medical advice may not necessarily, but I continued to talk with other doctors, and they were like, sure, go ahead, give it a try and listen to your body. If you feel that it's not working for you, if you feel your heart is racing or you feel the irregularities, then back off. So I just began, it actually put me in touch with my body in ways that I had not been before.
And speaking of which, I know that you are also a pastor, you're a motivational speaker, and you briefly mentioned your nonprofit, which helps people. And I think, when I see people who are out of shape, but they're faithful, I'm thinking, is there any way you can draw a connection between spirituality and physical fitness? Because so many, especially people of color like myself, I grew up and it was just a given that all the elders in my family were on heart medication, diabetes medication, and exercise wasn't something that I saw the elders in my family do. And I think you're changing the narrative, and you're in a unique position where you are a leader in the community as a pastor and a psychologist. You know, can you help people who are faithful draw that connection between, you know, being good to your body and living in your God-given purpose?
Sure. I mean, you know, the faith, of course, is if you are a person of faith, faith is central. It is like your core. It's central to everything you do. You do what you do because you believe what God says about who you are. So in that sense, if you're sick and let me put it this way. Of course, faith is the strength, the power, and understanding that faith is, if you believe faith comes from God, that He's the source of everything, including your faith, and including your strength. And we understand that the body belongs to God. And if you want to function in your destiny, how can you do the good work? The way we do it is in these human bodies. You know, we're not disembodied spirits or souls floating around. These bodies are it's our tent. Sometimes the scripture refers to it. It refers to our temple. All of these ways that we need to maintain these bodies because we're essentially the vessel. And so if we're going to be used by God in this world to transform lives, then the vessel needs to be whole. So the mind needs to be whole, the body needs to be whole. And so, so it works together. There's a balance there that's essential. We know the Bible teaches that bodily exercise does not benefit in the same way that it is to be spiritually anchored, but it doesn't say it's no benefit. It just simply understands that in the greatest sense, to be spiritually fit is important. It is more important, the most important thing. But it does not say that to be physically fit, we need to set that aside. No, physical fitness is essential. I mean, you know, Jesus walked up mountains to pray. And I cannot imagine Jesus not being fit. I just can't. I can't imagine
it. He didn't say, "Woo, Lord," when he got to the top of the mountain.
You know, and he had crowds of people pressing him every day. He was like the rock star of his day, and he had to. Sometimes he was all day dealing with people, healing, teaching. Walking through towns, walking the dusty roads of his city and town. So I cannot imagine him not having the physical stamina to do that. And he is our example. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Now you also compete with your son, Nathan. Tell me about what that's like and and what does he say about his strong mother?
Well, you know, really my family is so I just love my family, and we're going to start with the man, the head, the patriarch of the family, my husband. But my family saw me doing this, and so they began to come to the competitions to cheer me on. But in the process, of course, we know a lot about the weight. It's genetic. So my sons, my daughter, all three of my children are very strong. They have a more muscular build. I think that's from my father. And so Nathan saw it and he says, you know, that looks like fun. So he began I told him, let's try it. And so now we call ourselves Team Quiet Storm. And I just scream when he competes. He was we were competing at the Nationals in Florida, and he squatted 777 pounds, and I almost lost my mind. I was screaming.
And can I just say, this is your 45-year-old son?
This is he is. He's in the Masters 1 category. So he is in his 40s, and he won that competition so powerfully. I was like, oh yeah. So he's the one I'm pushing to just keep it going. Yeah. And my son Daniel is also, he's buff without trying. He's an actor and performer, and he is just strong. They all are good looking men. And very powerful. And my daughter is awesome too. My daughter's, I just have to say, genetically, yes. She is moving into chaplaincy, and she's a military chaplain. She decided in her 40s to, as Dr. Joy, she decided to go into the military at that stage. So she has had to prepare her body for the fitness. The fitness training, and also to just to pass that initial exam. And she has just been lifting weights, running, doing all of that. So I'm just looking at, I think as they look at me, they say, Mom, if you can do it and you're inspiring us to be our best, not just spiritually, but also physically as well.
I love it. I mean, a family of people who are rediscovering and trying new things after 40 in life is so inspirational for people who may be thinking, well, all of my years of trying new things may be over. Mm-hmm. If you're listening, Glowstream TV fam, no, they are not. We are talking to Dr. Linda Gorham. We are live on the CTR network. You can ask a question in the comments on Facebook. And I want to open up the discussion to Brandon Richardson, our beauty and matcha reporter, and Cheryl Grant, our TV and film reporter. We are all fabulous in let's just say we've lived 3 full decades and some change. Let's just say that. Welcome back to the show, guys. Brandon and Cheryl, do you have any questions for Dr. Linda?
I just want to say, first of all, I am very inspired. I will never, ever complain about lifting my 8 to 10 pound weights that I do when I work out. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I will never say those words ever again. And I feel so inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your story, because when you feel strong, it means that you feel like you can take on anything. You can take on the world,
Absolutely.
Spiritual strength, as well as physical strength. So I'm just in awe, I should say, at what you do. And I'm so glad that you were here today. Do you have any kind of, do you eat differently or anything like that to help you to?
I do. So it's, food is fuel, FUEL. So it is, there's the expression, of course, we can live to eat or eat to live. So in my sense, because I am a powerlifter, protein is essential to build muscles. So my protein regimen is pretty high. So I do a lot of protein in every meal. I typically start the day with 5 egg whites, scrambled, or sometimes I just drink the egg whites from the carton. They're pasteurized. But typically my wonderful husband, bless his heart, will prepare the 5 egg whites every morning. He knows that's part of my routine. I come down, I eat those 5 egg whites that he scrambled and presented like he's a chef extraordinary and I'm at some restaurant. So the egg whites kind of fuel my day, and I make sure that I'm drinking protein drinks after a workout. And I may try ideally you're supposed to actually eat your body weight in terms of grams of protein. So I'm not a small woman. I compete in the 84 kilogram division, which is maximum 185 pounds. We can be between 165, I think, and 185. So I'm not small, and I'm 5'2", but it's packed in there, so if you see me, it's like, I don't look buff, but it is, as we say in the African American community, I may look thick. So that's okay. I embrace my body. I'm not trying to be who I'm not. But I do try to get sufficient protein every day. I'm doing more plant-based protein, so I am doing more falafel and do more chickpeas, lentils, and I don't throw down on a lot of steak, fatty food, but mainly lean protein every meal and in between.
Okay.
Oh, that is so amazing. And you know what? None of this skinny mini stuff, if you want to be a strong woman and stand in your own power. You heard it here from Dr. Linda Gorham. She is saying, have your protein, be conscious and intentional about what you're eating. And then you can look great. And someone else who looks great is Brandon Richardson. You were nodding your head when she was talking about that lean protein, Brandon.
Because, living in Miami, like I'm always on a journey of constant fitness. And, coming out of COVID, I'm like, I have to get back in that journey. And I understand what Dr. Linda is saying, because when I'm on my fitness, I'm doing the protein, I'm watching what I'm eating to live. And I like to live to eat as well. But, it's about finding that balance. And so I completely am like, Dr. Linda, you're about to have me up in this gym today, recommitting myself to the gym, just listening to your story. But I just have to highlight, and I hope our Glowstream family can see this, because Dr. Linda, you look amazing.
Thank
and
you.
The phrase is black don't crack. And I always say, but there's an addendum to that. Good black don't crack if you take care of it. How do you take care of your skin and all of this melanated magic that I'm looking at right now?
Well, my birthday's Christmas Eve. I'll be 70 years old. And
right.
Yeah, so the care for my skin is I rarely wear makeup, if at all, except just for something like this, try to put on a little something. But I use a lot of mainly because I have skin sensitivities. I'm not tender, but I will break out if you look at me hard. So I use Neutrogena products and Clinique products. I only use, Neutrogena has a facial lotion for sensitive skin, and I use those products only. I use Vanicream for my skin as a lotion, and so I stay away from harsh chemicals and Almay products. I'll use those. Anything for hypoallergenic skin, I'll use that. But I do have to say, I think part of it is genetic, because that side of my family, my aunts and all, they all seem to look a little young and, they have that little chocolate look that, they passed on to me.
I love it. You look amazing. You mentioned some really great, just in terms of like mastige and slightly like accessibility. You talked about Clinique, which I love, by the way, because it's a really great, if you're wanting something that's going to be great for sensitive skin, that's a great brand. So you talked about, I like the highs and lows that you have in your skincare and your regimen as well. And you look good, Sugar. So obviously it works for you.
Thank you.
Brandon, do you have any advice for some of the glow getters listening who want to look as great as Linda, Cheryl, you, me? I'll just throw myself in there.
Sure.
Something about like warm and dewy skin when you're working out to prevent breakouts and things like that. It's a formula.
It is. And, I find that when I sweat hard, I like to also kind of detoxify my skin. So whether that's sitting in like the sauna afterwards, or immediately when I get home, I take a shower with like hot water, and I give myself a little bit of a deep down, like sudsy type of wash, just to get the dirt and the sweat out of the pores. But I think something that Dr. Linda probably agrees, and I think it's just a known, but sometimes we have to say it, is we have to drink water. We have to remind ourselves to drink water when you're working out, when you're training, when you're just trying to exist and live your best glow getter life. You have to consume a lot of water.
Absolutely.
That's great. And then going to Power, I know, Cheryl, you have some insight into a new movie where we're going to be seeing more women of power flexing their muscles on the big screen. This is a trend where there's no more, like, as you're getting older in life, you're sitting down and then letting life, pass you by. Women are getting out there, including a 50 plus MMA artist in a new movie. Tell us more about that, Cheryl.
Yes, that is so true. In this week's movie news to share, Halle Berry has a new movie coming out in November, and she is playing in the movie Bruised, and she's playing an MMA mixed martial arts boxer in this film, which is huge. Just like Marquette mentioned, she's 50 plus, looks fabulous, and she's stepping into the ring. But not only that, this is really a huge deal because she is not only starring in this film, she is also directing it. So this is her first directorial debut. So this is a really big deal for her. The other thing is Halle at 50 plus has been training just like you, Dr. Linda. She's really, honing in all of her strength for this movie. She's been training 4 to 6 hours daily is the word on the street. That's what she's doing. She's taking Muay Thai, judo, jiu-jitsu. I think that's how you pronounce that. And she's just really working out. And she's also going to bring back, I guess, her Catwoman skills that she does, how she trained up for that movie. So she's doing all of that. She's really trying to get fit for this film. Her transformation is going to be awesome. I don't know if you both saw Monsters Ball and how she transformed. So this is really huge. So I'm looking forward to seeing her transformation. There's also buzz. There's award buzz for this. So I can't wait to see if she's going to be a winner for this. I understand it's a very gritty drama, something that we really haven't seen her do. So I am looking forward to seeing her transformation. I am looking forward to seeing her in the ring. She's learning boxing. So she's really going to be authentic in this role.
Wow, that's amazing. And Dr. Linda, how important is it as a psychologist to see women stand in their own power, media representation, leaders in the community? When you see powerful women, what does that do to the next generation, young girls who are growing up?
Yes, absolutely. I work with primarily children, adolescents, and college students. And even with children, the level of anxiety and depression, the rates of suicide among children has, quadrupled. It is so alarming, which is why I actually moved from the area of psychology I was in, which was primarily research and education. Decided in 2016 to get my license. And so the process of becoming a licensed psychologist at this stage and age was quite grueling. I did that because I see the impact of not just the pandemic, but children who lack self-confidence, self-esteem is low, who may be dealing with everything from, bullying to divorce to just trauma, a lot of trauma. And these children, when they come to me, the first thing I want to do is help them identify their superpower. What is it that makes you strong, and even though someone may have told you that you, from your friends to your family, that you are no good, you can't do it, you are stupid, profanity, all kinds of things these children face. But in my space, when we come together, it is a space where we identify our superpower, our strengths. I use Simone Biles has a movie called Trolls. That's an excellent 5-minute animation with John Legend singing, and Simone is dealing with the social media trolls that tell her that her body is not the type for gymnastics, and how she addresses that, how she talks back to those voices, and how she faces her fear. So, I'm always talking to my clients, and I have adults as well. Avoidance is not the way to win this fight. You have to face your fears. How do you do that? Where do you find the inner strength and the superpower to do that? And usually we talk about faith, we talk about family, we talk about your things you have done in the past. Where is the evidence that you have been successful in the past? So sometimes we look at the things in front of us and we have these thoughts that, it's the worst case scenario. We come up with it, we catastrophize things, but let's stop and say, my thinking about this situation is distorted. I need to look at the evidence. I need to look at the facts. My feelings are not facts. Let's look at the facts and see where I have been successful in my life, no matter how large or small, and let that be your superpower. The things you have survived, the things you have come through, whatever it is that you have achieved. Let's look honestly at your accomplishments and achievements and say, how did that happen? That's my superpower, and I'm going to use that to face my fears. Have to face them.
That is so good. Brandon and Cheryl, I know we've all had instances in life where somebody tells you can't do something, or they don't see you in the vision that you see yourself. And it's hard not to believe it and let that seep in and replay in your head. I don't know about you guys, but this is good stuff I'm taking away from this conversation.
I think because I've been in this industry called beauty for a very long time. And I think once you get a little bit wiser, you're able to say, like, no, I know better. I know what I'm capable of. But I think what Dr. Linda mentioned, which is so impactful, is that you're doing it at a young age for children and for people, because it's easy for those seeds to get planted when you're young, and you carry them and they grow. And it's not until you end up in your 30s or a little bit later that you're now having to go through therapy or whatever else to try to break down those seeds that have now grown into weeds and kind of clutter your mind space in a sense. So I love the work that you mentioned, but it's so important that we're able to understand superpower and our worth.
Right.
Absolutely.
And looking towards the evidence, I'm someone who I will do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I see this problem. Let me avoid it. And so it was like ding, ding, ding for me. Oh, wait, avoidance is not the answer. And I've learned that, I think, just through trial and error. But one thing that people don't tell you enough is look at your past wins. Where have you been winning in life? That's the proof that you can do whatever challenge is ahead of you.
Absolutely. And even your failures, my sermon yesterday in church was in powerlifting, we have something called training to failure. And when your body absolutely can do no more, but the failure teaches you. Every failure teaches you. The Bill Gates quote that we used was, it's fine to celebrate your successes, but it's more important to learn from your failures, to heed those lessons that you learn from your failure. Failure is powerful in teaching you something about yourself that you can use to fail up, to do better the next time and you continue to fail better. That's, essentially it's an opportunity. Opposition, just like in powerlifting, where resistance is what makes you stronger. You cannot get stronger lifting the same weight day after day, doing the same thing. It just doesn't work. You have to ask your body to put out more. Resistance is how muscles grow, and your body will quickly adapt to whatever you do. So you have to continue to increase the weight. And the same thing in our lives. If we want to grow spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, we have to, God has a way, whether you want it or not, of increasing the weight. And we say he won't put more on you than you can bear, but he's going to put it on you. He doesn't put it, he allows it to come because he knows what it can do in terms of shaping and transforming you. So we don't, when opposition comes, think of it as an opportunity. Your weaknesses can be your strength. That's how you discover your strength and also acknowledging your limitations. That's important as well. And then asking for help. And it's a lot involved in the process of getting stronger. There are many elements to the process. And that's why children and adolescents and even adults need someone to come alongside of them to help them process. Your superpower may be your grandmother, your friend, someone who's going to come alongside of you and say, let me help you process what you just went through, because what can we learn from this, and how can we build on it? Yet resistance is essential for gaining strength.
You are listening to the Power episode of Glow with Marquette Shepherd. Mm-hmm. Dr. Linda just put a word on us. Brandon and Cheryl are in the room, part of the Glowstream TV family. Brandon?
Hi. So I have a question for the Glowstream family for the week, because this is the Power episode. We set our intentions every Monday here at Glowstream, right? So we need to all identify what our superpower is going to be this week. What are we stepping into for this week? How are we showing up for ourselves? What is going to be your superpower this week, starting on this Monday? I have some homework to do. I think I know what my superpower is going to do.
You got to share. We're sharing today.
I have a T-shirt that says "Sisterhood is my superpower." My daughter gave it to me. So sometimes community is our superpower. We don't do this journey in isolation. It's just not meant to be. We weren't even designed to do this in isolation. We need community. And so, sometimes the community gets on your last nerves. It can be annoying someone in the community, Uncle Joe or Aunt somebody, but they are there for you, and learn what you can. As we say, take the best and leave the rest. Take the best from our community, and we have to lay aside some other stuff, but our community is everything. It's everything. You need to be a part of something, and that often is your superpower, because we don't do this thing alone. You can look inside yourself all day, all night, looking for the solution Yes, there's something there, because we have that light within us. God put it there. However, He also placed us in families. He also placed us in communities, so that we can live out our destiny.
Absolutely.
I love that. I think, what rings so profoundly to me is opposition can be an opportunity. So just to answer Brandon's question, this week, I'm going to focus on embracing opposition, because, when you work with people and media and content creation is a very collaborative sport. You always get an opposing view, and you're just like, why don't you just go along with what I say? And it's never like that. And I'm going to start considering the opposition as a growth opportunity. That personally, what I'm going to do. If you're listening and you want to join the conversation, just go to Glowstream TV on Facebook. Put what your superpower is under this video. We are live streaming it. If you're on iTunes, just go to Facebook. Cheryl, what is your superpower? I know I've known you for a long time. I know what I just think the world of you. But what do you think your true one power is that you have over others?
I think I have, I don't want to use the word gift, but bringing people together, keeping people on point, uplifting others. And I think I have such a strong power to uplift others. Sometimes I don't uplift myself in certain things. Sometimes I need that same energy and that same encouragement. But I think that the family that I have, and when I say family, not just my biological family, I have what I call my sister girls. I call them my sister girls. They're my family, or my longtime friends, such as yourself, my new friends, Be Rich Beauty, people giving me inspiration to help me to be the best that I can be. Therefore, I can pour that into others. So I think my superpower is really just trying to be there for others, to uplift others, and to help them be the best that they can be.
I love it. Brandon, did we get your superpower?
You didn't, but I hear you, but you are right now. So y'all know I like to talk. And so I think my superpower, if I have to really lean in and really say, it would be storytelling. I love to tell a story. It brings so many different types of emotions. It can bring people together. It can inform people. It can motivate. It can empower. So storytelling is my superpower.
And shall we do some storytelling? I love to uplift and inspire, but I also love to tap into what's going on in the world, Dr. Linda. So we do this thing called Brandon's Matcha on Glowstream TV. And, it's really because people are fascinated with reality TV. And I would love to get your psychological take on this. Brandon, what's everybody talking about on the world of reality? And then let's toss it to Dr. Linda to get the breakdown.
The scream that was heard around the world. So, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is doing their epic 4-part reunion. Episode 1, out the gate, we got the drama. And when I say we got the drama, we got the smoke between Dorit and Garcelle Bouvard, right? So is it Bouvard or Bouvet? I can never...
Bouvet.
Thank you. My Francais is a little rusty.
That's okay. I'm hearing what you're spelling. Come on.
So, Garcelle and Dorit have been kind of going at it a little bit all season, and it came to a head on the couch. And one thing I will call out is that, as we're trying to recover from COVID, the previous reunions outside of Beverly Hills, because their first reunion, Garcelle's first reunion was virtual, right? So all the other previous reunions have been really like 6 feet apart. So this was very much like old school pre-COVID type of reunion. They had the couches. They were all on the couch together, almost shoulder to shoulder. Well, Garcelle and Dorit have been going back and forth because we all know that Dorit can be a little long-winded. So they were addressing that situation, and Garcelle got ready to say something, and she cut Dorit off. But it wasn't just about her cutting Dorit off. It was how Dorit responded in that moment. And in that moment, Dorit raised her voice and screamed at Garcelle, like, "Stop cutting me off, Garcelle," right? And it was like, what? Not an indoor scream, not a gentle raise of my voice because I'm passionate. It was, I'm outside at the fair and a hollering.
It was unhinged.
Type of thing. It was very unhinged. And in that moment, I think everybody was frozen in shock. Because 1, it was like, did she just really scream? And 2, you could tell that it caught Garcelle off guard because Garcelle didn't know how to respond. Now, actually, I take that back. I think Garcelle knew how to respond, but in that split second, Garcelle had to decide how she wanted to respond on national television as the only Black female on this couch. Right.
So for those who haven't seen it, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it's an all Caucasian cast. And 2 years ago, Garcelle came in as a woman of color, basically integrating the cast as the only woman with brown skin or of African descent on the show. And then she just happened to get screamed at, not just once, but once on the reunion and then another time in the show. And what you're saying, Brandon, is she's probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm the only Black woman. I don't want to fall into the stereotype of angry Black woman.
Yes.
And on top of that, like, we know people watch for the drama. We get it. You're gonna scream. You're gonna have angry moments with each other. But this level of screaming just so sat in like privilege, and it really took me back because I could not help but think, I should say, is how many times have one of us, in terms of people of color, you, Marquette, in your entertainment life, you, Cheryl, you, Dr. Linda, have had someone of the white persuasion or the opposite race take liberties with you that they wouldn't do if it was the same race as them. Like, it just really boggled me. And in that moment, I was like, I don't believe in violence. Like, I don't believe in the whole Portia dragging.
No, we don't believe in
moment. But I do believe in a good verbal assault. Like, in that moment, Garcelle should have been like, you know what, sis, what you not going to do is do this. But it didn't happen. Like, Garcelle.
No, because you know what? It's happened to me in media where I've had coworkers and castmates scream at me at the top of their lungs in a professional setting. And the only thing going through my mind is, yes, I can defend myself, but I have to stay professional because I need my job. And I don't know, how do you respond in this situation, Dr. Gorham, and what's going on in the mind of a person who unhinges and just lashes out in a professional and public setting such as TV?
Well, you never know what's going on in someone else's mind. So we'll start right there.
Okay.
No trying to read what's going on in someone else's mind. It's impossible. You can come up with whatever number, but I always
I'll drop that one.
Clients, it's not about what's going on in somebody else's mind. You'll never know. So we don't go there. But what we do understand is this is a problem to be solved. So when someone screams at you, you treat it as a problem to be solved. You quickly weigh the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages, and then you decide which way you're going to go. But you have to, the thing is, when someone screams at you, we know about the brain. What we know about the brain now is the amygdala is that center, the emotional center. When someone screams at you, if that triggers that emotional center of your brain. That center cannot be triggered, which is for fight, flight, or freeze, while that's happening, and still have the frontal lobe, which is for making judgments and decisions. That part is you're not going to be able to access that part. If your emotional center is so triggered, you cannot make effective, good decisions. So the thing about it is how to calm yourself in that moment so that you can make a decision about what are the pros and cons of how I should react. So when you are triggered emotionally, the thing is, what is my way to calm myself? How do I get to this place? Because of course you can fight, you can run, or you can freeze. Once you understand that's what's happening, okay, once you understand your emotional part of your brain is really like firing, it's like I need to calm that part first, and then I can make a decision. I can use the frontal lobe to where it's called the executive functioning area, and I can begin to decide how I want to respond, weigh all the pros and cons, and then make a response. But you have to calm the emotional part. So that is what you do, that with practice. You learn, even in a situation where someone comes at you very quickly, once you have learned how not to respond from that super emotional place that's triggered, like for some people it's just counting to 10. For others it's taking that deep breath before you say something. Okay, so once I'm triggered, I've learned, take a deep breath. Don't go anywhere until I have, let me take a couple of breaths, then maybe I can think about what I want to do. Or let me walk away. And when I walk away, I can, again, that is calming that emotional area of our brain so that we can access that part of our brain that allows us to decide what to do. But when you're in an emotional state, there are really only 3 things to do. You're going to run, or you're going to fight or freeze. So, and if none of those are effective in that moment, and so we have to practice that in our everyday life. Conflict is going to come. You teach children how to handle when they are emotionally triggered in that way, in other words, there's safety, there's a sense of danger. That's really what happens when somebody screams at you like that. You immediately go, there's danger here. And your brain begins to react in ways that keep you safe. But really, what if it's not really danger? You just feel like there's danger, right? So that means you need to be able to calm yourself and practice it in smaller situations. So when the big blow-ups happen, you're able. I have to say I've served as a chaplain in a hospital and in other settings. And, in certain roles, you can't fall apart. If someone it's coming into the emergency room and they have died and their family is already screaming, and of course you feel, and the first responders everyone is upset. As a chaplain, I cannot walk into that situation with and of course I have compassion, but I cannot be at that same level of being triggered. So it comes with practice so that you can actually be effective. As you say, you want to keep your job, or you can make an effective decision.
A sister needs to pay her bills. So,
but then if it is one of those situations where she needs to confront and say to the person, what you just said, I don't like it, and don't ever do that to me again. Never. It's disrespectful, and I'm not going to tolerate it. But you cannot respond like that when already you are.
Oh, my goodness. And I think Garcelle in that situation froze. I don't know about you guys, but when I've been in those situations, I think I have done the flight situation, and I've done what do you call it? Sleep. Yeah. And one thing that I know for sure now is if you're doing something of value that people want to do, or they envy you, or they look up to you, those types of scenarios are going to come. It may be jealousy. It may be, I don't know how to handle this strong woman. And I love that you're saying at the end of our episode with 3 minutes left, you're saying calmness is your power in that moment. Don't react too soon. Don't leave too soon. Remain calm so you can get your logical part of your brain thinking again.
Yeah, so for me, my superpower is my relationship with God. So in that moment, I have learned to call on Jesus. So in that moment when things get up, we've seen it on the shows, Fix It Jesus. But in those moments when something hits you very quickly, I know what my superpower is. I said, Jesus, come now, calm my mind. I have something to do here, and I want you to direct me. I know in my weakness, I'll lash out. I'll do something really stupid. My faith is my superpower because of that, that's the victory. I call on him and he comes and he empowers me to do what I need to do in that moment. I wouldn't live life without him.
Oh, what a beautiful message at the end of our episode. I cannot thank you enough. For everyone listening, please follow Dr. Linda Gorham on Facebook. She is Linda Gorham, Gorham, powerlifter on Facebook. Amazing story, amazing inspirational life you have. And I just want to thank you for being on The Glow Show.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank Cheryl Grant, our TV and film reviewer as well. We have a great new film review of all of the holiday movies on glowstreamtv.com. And Brandon Richardson, you keep it fun. Sometimes we go heavy and we go deep, but you keep it fun. And we have a brand new Makeup Monday, Halloween makeup edition that just posted this morning on glowstreamtv.com. So if you're looking for a way to get lifted, scroll our feed on Facebook or Instagram, go to the website. This is all about uplifting and empowering the glow getters out there, because I believe you have a light inside of you, just like Dr. Gorham mentioned. I have a book called What is Light? Everyone has a light inside of them, right? And sometimes life, it can weigh so heavily on you that your light gets a little dimmed unintentionally. Well, we are here talking every Monday and online, helping you to shine your light brightly. So thank you for joining us on this episode, and we'll be back next week for another edition of Glow with Marquette Shepherd on iTunes and Glowstream TV, wherever you listen to your podcasts.